There was this article or this piece written by Zach Lowe, and it it was behind a paywall, but it was talking about Andrew Wiggins, and it was talking about how that trade, like, oh, here we go, awesome, I found it. It was talking about how the basically how the Warriors trade for Andrew Wiggins like reignited their championship aspirations. The title of this article, Low, Inside the Trade That Brought Andrew Wiggins to Golden State and the Shocking Decisions It Could Force on the Warriors. I don't think I can, no, I can't access this because it's ESPN Plus, but ultimately, the Warriors traded for Andrew Wiggins, and now they're going to have to reckon with extensions for Steph, Clay, Kevon Looney, Gary Payton Jr., not Steph, I'm sorry, Clay, Draymond, Jordan Poole, Kevon Looney, and GP2. So this, what we're looking at right now, is like an aggregation from Bleacher Report. Some NBA teams reportedly aren't happy that the league's salary cap rules have allowed the Golden State Warriors to keep their deep and talented roster together for the long haul. According to Zach Lowe, some of the Warriors' rivals have been, quote-unquote, grumbling about the, quote, competitive spending advantage they have over other teams. Per Lowe, the Warriors will soon have to consider contracts for Clay, Dre, whatever, all the guys I had already mentioned. If GS resigns all of them, Bobby Marks estimates the Warriors could have a payroll of $475 million with the inclusion of luxury tax penalties. So they're looking at $500 million in payroll in probably just those guys alone. As noted by Lowe, this would represent unprecedented spending in NBA history. While maintaining bird rights to a player allows a team to spend well above the salary cap in order to keep him, penalties come along with going too far over. The NBA is what is considered a soft cap sport. And what that means is there is a salary cap, but you're allowed to exceed that salary cap as long as the owner is okay with paying luxury tax, which comes out of his pocket. I don't know the luxury tax rate off the top of my head. It's something that's decided with every CBA, I believe. But just know that if you want to pay to win, you essentially can. In theory, it's not that easy, but you can. However, I don't think that baseball is, I think baseball has unlimited spending. I know it's not a hard cap sport because you have a team like the Dodgers who literally just signs every great player. But this gripe from other teams is bullshit, and I'll get to why. I just want to finish this article. The Warriors spend a significant amount of money in luxury tax, and as pointed out by Lowe, tens of millions of dollars go from the Warriors to other NBA teams as a part of revenue sharing and payments to teams that aren't above the luxury tax threshold. Lowe also reported that some NBA teams, with the Warriors conceivably being among them, have proposed the idea of a discount against the luxury tax when it comes to contracts of homegrown players, that if you're going to go over the cap, you're going over the cap, you're getting the baseline rate. I don't give a about these billionaire owners wanting to save money on their sports team. That if you buy a sports team, you're in it to win. You're not in it to make money. And I'll expand on this in a second. This hasn't happened yet, but it would give big spending teams like the Warriors some relief if it ever adopted. For now, the Warriors can spend at their discretion when it comes to keeping players in-house, and not much can be done to stop them. While Steph Curry remains under a long-term deal, Wiggins is an unrestricted free agent, and Poole is a restricted free agent after next season. Green can also enter free agency next season if he hops out. Otherwise, he'll be a free agent during the summer of 2024, as well as Thompson. The core of Thompson, Curry, and Green are well into their 30s, but keeping them for as long as possible makes sense from the Warriors' perspective, since they can help with the transition of younger players like Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and James Wiseman. The mix of youth and experience has served the Warriors well this year as they're back in the NBA Finals, yada yada. So my gripe with this, and why I think that this is bullshit, and what I'm talking about is precisely competitive advantage. I don't like when owners bitch and scream and moan and piss all over themselves because of the salary cap. And the reason is that I think almost every NBA team is owned by a billionaire or a multi-billionaire, which means that they have the money to be able to spend on their team, but they don't want to. And I know that their money isn't liquid, I get it, but they can liquidate some of their assets to put towards the team. They could also probably just do a fucking They could probably also just like manage some sort of exchange, since it's technically going from one business to another business. They could probably finagle that. I mean, they're billionaires. Like, no, it doesn't. Nothing applies to them. They don't abide by the regular laws of finance like us working class people do. But they choose not to spend. Owners choose not to spend. Owners choose not to pay guys what they want. Owners choose not to keep teams together. The reason that Golden State has managed to be together for so long is that Golden State wants to spend. Ownership wants to spend. They don't care about the luxury tax, or at least they don't care about the luxury tax because it's bringing them championships. Because what these billionaire business owners fail to understand is that purchasing a sports team is not like purchasing any other business. It's not a profitable business. Okay? Sports teams are I'm not sure like the exact numbers. I know the NBA as a league makes a lot of money, but they have a lot of expenses. And the expenses are even more so for the teams when you're looking at payrolls of anywhere from like 90 to 130 million dollars before luxury tax. But people buy these teams because they want to diversify their portfolio and they want to run it like a traditional business, which doesn't work because the fans don't give a fuck if the business makes money or not. It doesn't apply to them. They don't give a fuck. I mean, they're spending their hard-earned money to go and watch this team. They're not spending their money to access a spreadsheet. They want to see this team be successful, and they want to see this team win championships. And ownership, upper management, I've talked about this in the past as well. Upper management is they're always at odds. Well, not always, but most of the time, a lot of ownership groups and a lot of management classes are at odds with the labor class. The labor class in this instance being the players and the coaches. Although financially, the labor class is more well off than the ownership class or than like the management class, it's because the union is structured that way, which is good. But the players and the coaches want to win. But ownership and upper management wants to make money. And you're not going to be able to build a successful organization if you follow the profit motive. Not going to happen. It simply won't work because your strategy at the end of the day is going to clash with it's going to clash with the rest of your employees, the employees who are more integral to the success of your team arguably than you are. All you have to do is find the right places. And most of the time, you're consulting the players and the coaches because so many of these business freaks don't understand athletics. Okay? There are a tremendous amount of incompetent people who work in the four major sports leagues, which is why so many teams are bad for so long. It's because these guys have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And a good owner will, one, stay out of the day-to-day operations, stay out of the day-to-day operations of basketball, and two, figure out how to surround themselves with the properly educated people. And when I say stay out of, I mean you can sit in on the decision-making process. Like if you're truly invested, like if I had $10 billion, which I hope I never do, if I had $10 billion and I was able to buy the Brooklyn Nets, I would. But me being a basketball fan beforehand, I would try to be more of like Mark Cuban or Steve Ballmer, people who are just there, who enjoy watching the games, who just appreciate the sport for what it is. Would I want to sit in on basketball operations meetings? Yeah, I think I would. I think it'd be cool just to, learn a little bit, but I wouldn't be up my team's ass like promoting all of these bullshit ideas like there. I remember when we were doing the fucking Robert Sarver racism allegation, the toxic workplace allegations. I think it was Earl Watson or whoever was the coach at the time was talking about how one day Robert Sarver comes into the coach's office and is asking and is drawing up a play where he has a pick and roll being set in the paint, and he's like, "Why can't you do that?" And the team had to explain to him that you can't fucking run a pick and roll in the paint because that's not how basketball works, because there's no spacing down there, because there are already multiple bodies collapsing onto the ball handler, and you're just going to make his job significantly worse. Like, that's how a lot of owners function. And it's not exclusive to basketball, it's exclusive to baseball. I mean, it includes baseball, it includes football. Really, at least in American sports, I don't know how teams operate like outside. Like, I don't know how the Premier League operates in England. I know in Formula One, the team principals are heavily involved, but I also don't know if Christian Horner and Toto Wolff and Mattia Binotto are giving like race instructions to their drivers. Like, they allow the engineers to do that. They're just kind of more of like, again, they're more of like a coach in that regard. But like, it's good for the owner to be involved as long as they know their limitations. And when it comes to this, again, when it comes back to the competitive spending advantage, these guys are just babies. Like, whenever you talk about competitive advantages in sports, a lot of it is bullshit, because unless a player is doing something that's like blatantly egregious, like if they're doing copious amount of steroids, or just like doing shit that is straight up illegal, although in baseball I think steroids are fine as long as everyone's using them. That's my hot take, is that baseball should allow performance enhancing substances as long as they allow everyone to use PEDs. Like, let the players take steroids, let all the players take steroids, let all of the pitchers use sticky stuff, so that way everyone is just like juiced to the gills and they're launching baseballs 700 feet. But as long as no one's doing anything crazy, I mean, even then, like, sports are still unfair. Like, this is a conversation that happens all the time in regards to trans athletes, and they talk about how trans women playing athletes have an unfair biological advantage, and they just totally ignore the fact that literally all athletes have biological advantages, even compared to one another. Like, are you going to look at LeBron James and Steph Curry and say that LeBron doesn't have biological advantages? This dude is 6'8", 260, and is one of the freakiest athletes the NBA has ever seen. And when it comes down to, the idea of other advantages, Steph was the fucking son of an NBA player. This guy was playing one-on-one against Charlotte Hornets players when he was 8 years old. So it's like, sports are full of unfair advantages, but the monetary one is the great equalizer, because you can choose to build a contender. You can choose to keep a team together if they're performing well. But a lot of owners just fucking don't want to. It's so stupid that they're screeching about it.